You must have heard about the ghost parks and haunted houses, but what if I told you that a similar place was burned down to ashes and no reason behind the mishap was found? Luna Park's ghost train at the time of the incident was designed to be as frightening as possible. The ride consisted of a cramped haunted house in which guests were propelled through narrow passageways on carts, at the risk of being impaled by animatronic spirits and rubber skeleton creatures. It was one of the most popular attractions at Luna, particularly for children. However, on the night of June 9, 1979, the train was more frightening than ever due to an unknown cause. And today, on Ride Disasters, we're going to unravel this incident that left the upcoming rides of Luna Park amidst the horror and terror. On the evening of June 9, 1979, the Luna Park ghost train caught fire. The train was full of passengers at the time of the incident. Luna Park personnel were able to evacuate the majority of the passengers from the train, but this tragedy had taken a horrific turn, it seemed. Due to a combination of inadequate safety protocols and possible arson, 7 passengers were killed in the fire, 6 of them children. This left Luna Park for many years with allegations of criminal activities, underworld connections, and police cover-ups preventing closure. No definitive cause of the fire was ever determined, although government officials attributed it to a variety of factors, from faulty wiring to a discarded cigarette. However, those who were present on the ghost train had something different to say. They had smelt real kerosene at the places where no real fire was supposed to take place. What was the enigma all about, and how did this tragic event even take place? Stay tuned to find out. Luna Park opened its doors in October of 1935. The park offered a wide range of rides, attractions, and games. Luna was never meant to be a true horror theme park, although the large, grinning face that greets visitors at the gate has been described as disturbing, especially when the visitors pass through its open mouth. The park's most popular ride was the Deadly Ghost Train, which has been part of Luna's since its inception. Initially, the train was a pretzel ride due to the tight claustrophobic loops and tracks. It underwent alterations at the beginning of its life cycle, transforming it into a haunted house-style attraction. The ghost train was famous among families who took a ride multiple times per visit. Even though it was so much in use and operation, it remained largely unchanged for approximately 40 years, with only occasional upgrades. The Godson family was one of the many affected by the fire outbreak on the night in question. The couple, who had 2 young sons, Damien and Craig, ages 4 and 6 respectively, had spent the entire day enjoying Luna Park. They had no idea that this late-night family ride would be their last. The Godsons were about to lose half of their family in the fire. On the night in question, the father, John, and his 2 sons hopped onto a ghost ride for a second time. Jenny, the mother, decided to wait for her sons and husband at the entrance with ice cream. This decision ultimately saved her life, but left her with lasting trauma. However, these innocents were not the only victims of the horrifying nightmare. If this Luna Park incident has piqued your curiosity, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Ride Disasters for more dangerous events happening in the happiest places on Earth. Stay tuned to know what happened next on the Deadly Ghost Ride. 4 out of the 7 people who lost their lives on the terrible ghost ride were just 12 to 13-year-old boys from local high school, Waverly College. They'd come to the park to try their luck with the newfound freedom and growing up, but they had no idea what was coming their way. Jonathan Billings, Richard Carroll, Michael Johnson, and Seamus Riley were the unlucky victims of the night of June 9, 1979. About 35 people were on board at the time of the fire. The first sign that something was wrong was smoke coming from the ride's entry and exit tunnels. However, everyone thought it was completely normal because that's what haunted ride would be like, right? The smoke or fog did not appear to be anything out of the ordinary. The ghost train featured a fake fireplace in the center of the train, surrounded by skeletal figures and ghouls, which all appeared to be part of the performance. However, the smoke was peculiar, with thick black clouds billowing from the doors and windows of the train. The smoke emitted a burning odor, and the air became hot and bitter as it fled the tunnel. Shortly after the smoke began to dissipate, the screams began to come from within the train. What happened next would make you gasp with shock and terror. Rather than stopping the ride and beginning to evacuate passengers through the maze-like interior tunnels, staff simply let the ride run. Instead, staff concentrated on getting people out of the vehicles as quickly as possible once they were out of the tunnel. The fire service was called to the scene, but by the time they arrived, the fire had well advanced. The poor water pressure within the park made it even worse. They had to divert water away from the park's harbor to fight the blaze, and nothing seemed to be of much help. Within an hour of the fire, the entire ride building was in ruins, collapsing into a pile of rubble. The staff were able to contain the hungry flames that were burning inside the train, preventing the fire from spreading to other rides. While the crew worked to put out the fire and continue the ride evacuation, many people in the crowd wondered how a fire could have spread so quickly. At first, it was believed that all of the riders had been safely evacuated. However, at approximately 11:30 p.m., 7 bodies were found, including the bodies of the 6 children and the father of 2 of them. It is believed that the 7 victims had left their cars at the time of the fire and were attempting to make their way out of the building. They lost their way in the dark, narrow, and smoky passageways inside the ghost train. Although we can't be sure, it is possible that if they had stayed in their cars, they would have survived the fire. For many years after the incident, the cause of the fire was not definitively known. This made the Luna Park ride even deadlier. It was widely speculated that faulty wiring was the cause, although there was no definitive proof. But in 1979, an investigation was conducted that suggested that a cigarette discarded by an untrained passenger may have been the source of the fire. However, no witnesses reported seeing any smoke on the train. Many passengers believed that the initial cause of the fire originated from the ride's false fireplace, which was connected to the display and animatronics. However, the most compelling factor was the odor emanating from the ghost train's tunnels, which were strongly perfumed with kerosene. The smell was sweet and oily, and this made it very distinguishable from any other. It was difficult to mistake the smell for anything else. Some people believe that the smell originated from the device itself, but this was not what happened. The exact cause of the fire was never determined, though in later years a Sydney underworld figure named Abe Saffron was linked to the blaze. His niece told police that Saffron had set the fire in an attempt to take over Luna Park's lease, although he never intended anyone to die. Of course, Saffron denied any involvement in the fire, and nothing was ever proved. The popular arson theory was that Saffron or others in the underworld hired a gang of motorcyclists to cause enough damage to Luna to make the owners more willing to sell the property. There was no evidence that the fire should have been fatal, but fire is not something that can be easily controlled. No matter what anyone has to say, the ghost ride left the Godson family in shatters and the young high school children deceased. The victims are now commemorated by a plaque on the outside wall of the large top arena that stands on the former side of the ghost train. Luna Park still operates as it did at the time of the fire, attracting millions of visitors annually. And this brings us to the end of today's disaster story. What do you think about the reason behind this tragedy? Was it a wiring fault or an arson conspiracy? Please comment down below, and don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. If this video caught your interest and attention, make sure to subscribe to Ride Disasters and hit that notification bell icon to get updated on more related content.